Hi beautiful, I'm Megan Graham and today I'm here to talk to you about gray coverage in between colorings. So I know that this is a huge topic and it's a question that so many of you are thinking about right now simply because salons are closed and you can't make it in for your gray coverage. So what are you supposed to do for gray coverage in between colorings right now? I know it probably seems easy when you go to the salon, but honestly, gray coverage is so much more than what you would ever think. So when I first started out as a hairstylist, I thought that it might take me maybe about 6 months and I would be super amazing at what I did. I would be busy all the time and I would just be turning out fantastic hair color day in and day out. So it actually took me years and years to gain the skills that I needed to be precise, consistent, and make my clients happy all the time. I'm not saying that I was a disaster when I started, but it really takes some learning. So today I'm going to talk to you about how you can do gray coverage at home and some of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, which are exactly what you want to avoid. So I've been actually coaching a lot of people one-on-one so they can understand how to do gray coverage at home. And here are some of the things that I see more often than not. At the salon, I always make sure to use adequate coverage when I'm doing gray coverage. So when I actually coach someone, what I've noticed is that a lot of the time they're using a half of the color formula. So when you're using half of the color formula instead of the entire color formula when you're doing your roots, you're not applying enough color. And when you don't apply enough color, you don't get great coverage. It can be spotty, you can miss gray hairs, it can look kind of filmy and unnatural. You want perfect coverage and you basically want to think about it as if you're drowning each of those hairs in color. So I'm not saying that you just squirt the color on and you don't think about how you apply it or anything like that, but when you apply, you really want to focus on the new growth that you have. So one question that a lot of people are also asking me is, do I just put the color on my roots or do I just put it on my entire head? I feel like every time I see a demonstration and it shows someone coloring their hair, they have the color from their roots to their ends, and that is absolutely not something that you want to do. Once your roots have been colored and that hair has grown down and it's still covered, there is absolutely no reason to cover that hair again. And if anything, you're going to make it porous, you're going to dry it out. You might have hair that's too dark where you might say be putting on a light brown and all of a sudden you're winding up with a dark brown and you can't understand why. Color builds up and that is not what you want. So you want to be accurate. To be accurate, you want to take very, very small sections for good gray coverage. So I see a lot of people trying to cover their hair and they're sectioning through it, and this is their part and their next section starts down here. You will never get good gray coverage if you don't take tiny, tiny sections and apply it accurately. So if you're taking quick, big sections and you're done with your application in 10 minutes, you're going to have a color that looks like it was done in 10 minutes and you're not going to have a color that looks natural, not even a little bit. So we want to be accurate, we want to take small sections, and we want to make sure that we use enough product. If you need, you may need to set up a mirror when you're doing the back of your head so you can actually get the color on your roots. This helps. This is actually something that I do. A lot of times I'm short on time, so I wind up doing my own gray coverage at home. And it's much easier for me to do the front of my hair. I obviously spend more time on my, my part line and my hairline and things that I can really see all the time. The back isn't as important, but it is still important. You don't want to have somebody standing behind you. I mean, if we could be around other people, that is. But anyway, you don't want to be at the, say, supermarket writing a check and there's someone standing behind you and the entire back of your head isn't colored. It's not the end of the world, but if you're doing it, maybe spend a little bit more time and make sure you're actually covering the back as well. So another thing that I often see when I see people that are not getting the proper coverage is that they're simply not leaving the product on for long enough. If the manufacturer tells you to leave the product on for 45 minutes, you have to leave that product on for the entire full 45 minutes to get the results that you're looking for. I think there's a misconception about gray coverage, and when people come into the salon, they say it's just one process or a single process or whatever you'd like to call it. To be truthful, this is a really labor-intensive process, and the more of a perfectionist that you are, the better your results will be. Also, the color that you formulate, you want it to be color that's actually meant to cover gray hair. So when you're at the supermarket, when you're at the drugstore, or when you're ordering your hair color, you really want to look and make sure that the color that you're ordering is a color that was intended to cover gray. Many times when I have new clients at the salon and they come in and they say that they've been going to someone and they haven't been able to color their gray and they can't get the results they want, and there's a stylist with, they maybe don't have a lot of experience and they're trying to cover their gray and they just keep going darker and darker and darker. The truth is, if you are neat, if you're accurate, and if you are generous with the color that you apply, that's when you're going to get the best result. And again, do not take that color that you're putting on your roots to cover the gray to cover everything in your entire head, unless you've never colored the rest of your head before. That's a different situation. So if my hair was completely uncolored and there was gray all the way down to here, that's a situation when I would actually want to pull the color through to the ends. If that's not your situation and you only have gray that's growing in, say you have a ½ an inch of growth or an inch of growth, that is when you would only do your roots to not destroy the hair quality that you have on your ends. In the salon, I don't use the same formula on the ends that I do on the roots because those ends don't need the same thing that the roots have. So you're addressing the different color concerns that your hair actually has. I have to say that you can get great coverage at home and you could learn how to do it. I think it takes some learning. You probably want to watch a lot of videos and get a lot of tips and really study up because it is not a small thing. It can be done. I will say that your results are almost always going to be better at the salon because people have training, they have a better vantage point, and so on and so forth. But we are also in this period of time where people are going to need to do some things themselves because they're still making their Zoom calls. They can't make it to the hair salon. I mean, we're obviously not working. I'm not at my Newberry Street hair salon right now. But in the meantime, you can absolutely do what you can do. I will say that after this is all over and you go back to your normal salon, please don't be surprised if your stylist or colorist charges you more because they are going to have to use more color when you get back to fix the things that went wrong when they were not doing your color. Because even if they've given you your personal formula and even if they've given you coaching, it's just not going to be the same as when you visit your hairstylist. So the good news is, I guess you saved the money that you were not seeing them in the meantime and you can pay them a little extra to fix it, but do expect that you're going to have to get a little bit of fixing after this entire thing is over. So the main things when you want to do your gray coverage at home in between appointments are to be precise. Make sure you have enough product. Make sure that the product you have is intended to cover gray hair and leave the product on for long enough. I know these seem like really elementary things, but sometimes when I'm coaching my clients, I realize that things that seem so basic to me are not basic to them at all, so I really have to break it down and make sure that everybody understands the small details. So I hope that this helps you, and I hope that you take the best care of your hair that you can in between, and I really appreciate you listening to my video today. If you enjoyed my video, I would love it if you would give me a thumbs up, and I would still love it even if you gave me a thumbs down because I think it's really important to know what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. If you could go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would so appreciate that. I'm going to be making a lot of videos and bringing you a lot of my professional knowledge, and I hope that it helps you in your quest for beautiful hair. Thanks so much for watching.